minutes and 46 seconds, including 2 minutes and 53 seconds after Floyd had become unresponsive. At one point, another officer asked, "Should we roll him on his side?" Chauvin replied, No.
COVID-19 has been the opponent that very few professional sports leagues have had an answer for. Overnight, ESPN insiders are reporting multiple players and teams have raised concerns about resuming play in Orlando, citing the recent surge of coronavirus cases in Florida.
COVID-19 cases in the U.S. are creeping toward 2 million. Arizona's largest healthcare system said that intensive care units are full. The state has seen record daily new cases over the last week.
The Atlanta police officer who shot and killed Rayshad Brooks Friday night has been charged with murder and aggravated assault, along with 9 other charges. A
10-year extension, bringing the overall contract to 12 years as he still has 2 years left on his rookie deal. $503 million guaranteed.
And welcome everyone to the inaugural Kick the Narrative live from the Life of Christ Family Church. My name is Vic Day. I am going to be your host here on Kick the Narrative. You can listen to my show weekly on the BGC Sports Network on the 11s and 5s. The name of my show is called This Sick Show, along with my fellow BGC Sports Network teammates and media family, and we are absolutely ready to kick the narrative. Now, first, let me tell you, this broadcast is being brought to you by Fork Talk Eatery. No other way to say it, but their food is absolutely #forkanddelicious. Call them today at 469-358-5241 or visit them on Facebook at Fork Talk Eatery or Instagram at Fork Talk 3000. Also, James Wall, if you are needing car, home, or even rental insurance at competitive prices, then go to jameswallinsurance.com. That's jameswallinsurance.com. It's also by the Next Generation Marketing. If you are an entrepreneur and looking for innovative ways to get your product and services or your message out, then go to the nextgenerationmarketing.com. That's nextgenerationmarketing.com. And by Amazon Amazing Deals, just go to our BGCsports.net page and take advantage of some of the amazing deals being offered by our Amazon affiliate. And lastly, check us out anytime at Facebook at BGC Sports 1, Twitter at BGC Sports 1, Instagram at BGC Sports 1, and we want you to subscribe to our brand new BGC Sports Network page at BGC Sports Network 1. We want to welcome y'all to this broadcast. I have my fellow people in the house with me. Today I have Mr. Willie Epting Jr. You can see Willie. There's Willie right there. Willie, you can see him on the 12s and 6s. You can listen to him on our station. He has the hashtag Brothers of Baseball. Also, this Shake Back Sports Report, which comes on the weekends on the 12s and 6s. He is our MLB and NBA analyst and the show host of those two shows. Like I said, Willie Epting Jr. Make sure you check him out. Also in the house, I have Mr. Corey Hicks. We also call Corey Mr. Sportsopedia. Mr. Sportsopedia knows everything there is to know about sports. He is a sports enthusiast, producer of the Sports From Her Perspective, which is Natalie Hicks. She is the show host of that. And let's pull Natalie in right quick. Hey, Natalie, how you doing? Natalie Hicks. She is the host of Sports From Her Perspective. That show can be heard on the weekends on the 10s and the 4s right here on the BGC Sports Network. You want to check them out, definitely. They got a lot going on there. And we have a very special guest. He is the senior pastor of the Life in Christ Family Church, which we're at tonight. Please welcome Apostle Urban M. Brown. He's my spiritual father. He's my daddy. He's my confidant and my boy. We have fun here at Life in Christ Family Church. But today I want you to welcome him and welcome everybody to the platform as we kick the narrative here on today. Now, we want to get started by talking about the thing that had transpired with It's been about almost 2 months ago with George Floyd, the murder of George Floyd, almost 2 months ago, which kicked off massive protests and sparked the renewed narrative of racial injustice and racial inequity in America, as well as the senseless deaths of Breonna Taylor in Louisville, Kentucky, and Rayshard Brooks in Atlanta, Georgia. I want to start out with Apostle Urban Brown to talk about the spirit of injustice that is in the land right now and where we're going for it. Apostle, you've got the floor.
Hello, radio audience. It is wonderful to be here and excited by this opportunity. There was something that I felt was downloaded in me earlier this year concerning the time we were in, and that there was a shifting in the atmosphere. There was a release in the earth of a spirit that I call justice. Individuals are naturally, if you will, didn't recognize any change. We just see the fruit thereof. As a result, things that were once tolerated, injustices that were once tolerated, became unbearable. Veils were lifted off of people's eyes. They began to see and hear the cry of many of those who were victimized by an unjust system about rules and laws and behaviors. And as a result, we will begin to see a domino effect of injustices being exposed. The truth of the matter is we have seen many George Floyds happen. Many innocent black men were murdered and nothing was done. They were exonerated. It was overlooked, washed away, paid off, but there was no real action taken. But this had a different feel to it. Because of justice in the land, this cry was heard around the world that change must take place, which is forcing the hand of millionaires, forcing the hand of major corporations to do what they should have done 50, 60, 75 years ago when Martin Luther King was making that cry concerning racial injustice. However, it wasn't profitable, nor was there this extra presence in the earth realm. As a result, we are facing significant change taking place, and all of this will not be willingly. People will not give up power. As it is in a courtroom, they will fight justice. So will we see in corporate America. So will we see in the sports arena. Look how long they have been trying to get the Washington Redskins to change this discriminatory image that they project, their mascot, and they wouldn't do it. But now this is no longer tolerated, whereas corporate America had to force him to do what he should have voluntarily done. And now, because of this, we will see other domino effects, and I think that would be major shifting in the sports arena, women's sports where injustice has been done. We see other areas where we've had to fight, and because it was profitable to accept black quarterbacks, acknowledge that we can think, we can handle the pressure. We saw other levels. So I think what we must understand, we are in a different time, and this time has brought with it an empowerment that is demanding a change, especially among the younger generation, that they cannot tolerate what we have had to tolerate for most of our lives, if not all of our lives.
Willie, you look like you had something to say. Go ahead.
I mean, everything that Pastor echoed is 100% accurate and correct. And I actually have been going back and forth with various people in the world of social media, and not to my message that I want to get out to people, and I'm glad we have this platform and this forum to do this, is because many people, and even people of color, are really adversely speaking about Black Lives Matter. Okay, I understand that some people think that it is a political agenda or some sort of unit that is out here to really cause and further divide the country. But Black Lives Matter was already here before Black Lives Matter. So what that basically means is that everything that we are saying, we have been saying. And for some people to come out and say, well, BLM is a racial, it's a racist entity, whatnot. Okay, you can have that opinion about that organization, but the force and the cause and the initiative was well before this, my friends. So that's where I come from when I talk about Black Lives Matter. And Black Lives Matter, all lives can't matter until our lives matter. Just like I like to say, all lives do matter. Brown lives matter. Black lives matter. Green, every life out there matters. But it doesn't mean that we're trying to say that one race is, or one color is inferior to another one, which has been ingrained into us for really the beginning of time, since we were brought over here. And I got something to say about that too. So Big Day, take it from me, man, because I can keep going.
I'm going to ask Natalie to jump in here. Natalie, when this thing went down with George Floyd, and I don't know about you, but it affected me in such a different way, brought tears to my eyes. It hurt me to my heart the way it went down, and just to sit there and watch it on television and watch this man take his last breath, it ignited the world. What did you see, or how did you feel when this first went down?
Well, like you said, it affected me to hear him call out for not only his mother, but his mother who was deceased. Mm-hmm. That bothered me. But I have to say, just like Fannie Lou Hamer, and even Maria Taylor, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. You know, this has been going on, and I guess now we've gotten to a point where we just can't take this anymore. It's not a whole lot that you have to say. Change has got to come. We've got to see a change.
Right. Do me a favor real quick. Go ahead and turn your mic towards you a little more, because we couldn't really pick up what you had to say, because we want to hear everything that you had to say. But Corey, you go ahead and take it. How did you feel, or what did you think when that went down?
I just think at that point, that particular day, to see George Floyd calling for his mom, saying, "I can't breathe," then just the look on Derek Chauvin's face, it was just like it kind of shocked not only Black America conscious, but it shocked the whole world conscious.
Yeah. Where
we've been crying for years that we have had injustice, murders, killings going on, and every time it came up, it was always some loophole or somewhere where something happened where whatever officers were involved in it got off. But this particular instance, it was caught on live TV, and everybody saw this George Floyd lifeless body just go lifeless, and Derek Chauvin just sitting on his neck and just kind of smirking at the camera like, how dare you record me? This is the way we do business. And just kind of like what Natalie said about Fannie Lou Hamer, it's at a point where I just think, especially for Black America, they're at a point where they're just sick and tired of seeing these senseless killings. And then I think everything just kind of came to a head with George Floyd. We had already had the killing of Ahmaud Arbery, then you had Breonna Taylor, then we're sitting in the midst of this pandemic. It all just kind of came to a head. So at that point in time, everybody was just tired of seeing this, and it was time to act on it. I think that's, and it's like Pastor Brown said, it's just a spirit of where everybody's just tired, and it's time to do something, and it's time for justice to come forward in this situation.
I'm going to go back to Natalie again, give you another chance. Okay, I want you to go ahead, because I think they missed what you had to say in the beginning. So let's try you again.
Okay, better.
Let's go down.
Is better?
Way better.
Okay.
All right.
Like I said, the thing that got to me with George Floyd was to see him, like I said, not only just calling out to his mother, but his deceased mother while he was trying to save his own life. And in the words of Fannie Lou Hamer and even Maria Taylor, her voice was being heard worldwide, and being that we're a sports talk network, definitely have to shout her out. But we're sick and tired of being sick and tired. I mean, you go as far back as to Emmett Till. You go to Rodney King. This has got to stop. And like Corey said, we're going through the pandemic. We're seeing all this. We've seen all these murders, and something's got to change.
Yeah,
it has to.
I totally agree. And like I said, I think the thing for me was mostly it was that the reaction, it was so vivid and so clear. He needed to breathe. They wouldn't get off of him. And you saw in that man's eyes, the cop's eyes, Derek Chauvin, you saw in his eyes like, I'm not letting him up. I don't care. It was like, I don't care. And I think that was the thing that the world saw. It's like, that is a life, and you got your foot or your knee in the back of his neck. That is a life, and you're taking a life, and you are nonchalant about it. And then the other individuals or the officers that was there were really nonchalant about telling him to get off of him. You would have thought that maybe they would have pulled him off, and they were unable to. Willie, we're going to get to you. Hold on, Willie. We're going to come back to that because we're getting ready to go to a commercial break. So when we come back, we don't want anybody to go anywhere. Got to go to this commercial break right here. It is Kick the Narrative, the inaugural event right here on the Big Game Christian Sports Network.
In the state of Texas for home, life, health, auto, RV, motorcycle, or even workers' comp, we suggest you go to jameswallinsurance.com. That's jameswallinsurance.com, a proud supporter of the BGC Sports Network.
Can't remember what a home-cooked meal tastes like? Want a meal just like Mama's? We're talking about ribs, chicken, and deep-fried catfish with all the fixings. Fork Talk Eatery will have your mouth smacking and your fork talking. Whether it's large or small parties, they do it all. Call Fork Talk Eatery at 469-358-5241 for all of your catering needs. You can also find them on Facebook at Fork Talk Eatery and on Instagram at Fork Talk 3000. Fork Talk Eatery. It's forking delicious.
Imagine how amazing it would be to send a high-quality advertisement of your business, product, or service to be seen on any internet-enabled device that would display on the most popular social media platforms. Introducing proximity advertising from the Next Generations Marketing. Interested? Then send an email to Marvin Cashoff at info@thenextgenerationsmarketing.com. It's the next level in marketing from thenextgenerationsmarketing.com. If you haven't been listening,
this is what you've been missing.
All 4 news stations had their trucks at that location. All 4, 4, 5, 8, and 11, all had their trucks standing by, waiting for this thing to be dropped. Only that, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, the live cameras were still there. And they were still doing Facebook Live. And you're seeing this little thing swinging back and forth, hitting the building. It's like a door knocker, that small, banging on it's not doing anything, people. It's chipping it away. It's not bringing it down.
This station is lit.
We are
the Big Game Christian
Sports.
Alexa, start BGC Sports Network.
Now playing BGC Sports Network.
We want to welcome everybody back to the live Kick the Narrative, the inaugural Kick the Narrative right here on the BGC Sports Network. We have in the house Mr. Willie Epting Jr. We've got Natalie Hicks from Sports From Her Perspective, Mr. Corey Hicks also from Sports From Her Perspective, and Apostle Urban Brown as our special panel guest. We're going to get back to him in a minute, but before we went to the break, Willie Epting Jr. had something that he wanted to say, so go ahead and take it, Willie.
Yeah, I was just thinking about something when we were talking about, when we let it off with the Black Lives Matter, the moniker, the acronym, or what have you. On my show, or I should say on our show, my co-hosts Marquess and Huff and Corey Ellison, we discussed this at length many times over the last several weeks. And one thing that those fellas had said that makes a lot of sense, and I want everybody out there to really listen to what I'm saying or what I'm about to say. The question really is it that Black Lives Matter, or is it that Black Lives Matter equal to your life? And if you ask it from that perspective, then that really should, in my opinion, take away any political angle that anybody tries to attach to it out there. Because now I'm making you look at it from my perspective. Well, does my life matter as much as yours? Does my life equally matters as much as yours does? Do my kids' lives matter like your kids does, or my wife, or what have you? And then the second thing was, excuse me, when you talk about in terms of what Colin Kaepernick kneeled for, and I'm pretty sure we're going to get into this later on, don't you people out there, don't we think that is a little ironic that the one thing that Colin Kaepernick expressed as to the reason why he was taking a knee is for the exact reason how George Floyd was killed? That's all I got on that.
Exactly.
So
Apostle, what do you have on that?
I think it's somewhat ironic, but it shows you the plight of everything, how that this man was ostracized, his professional career was stole from him, and his purpose was detoured, camouflaged behind a political agenda, the flag. And when we look at this flag, it means something, it literally means something different from a white America than a black America, because that flag that we were supposed to be united under, when we went and served in the war and came back to the America that men had died for, we were not treated equal. We were not honored. Right. And that was another aspect of it. And so in order to not focus on his mission, we had to make it by his lack of patriotism, his lack of respect for something, when in truth be told that blacks have respected the flag more because we died for it and then came back to a country that didn't honor the flag by giving equal justice to all.
Yeah, this is true. And here's one of the things. You talked about the disrespecting of the flag, the kneeling that Colin Kaepernick did. I just did a show right over the 4th of July. And on my show, I was talking about how we disrespect the flag regardless. Everybody does, for the simple fact of there is a proper protocol or a flag etiquette that we should all be going by. But when you see the flag as a shirt, or as a handkerchief, or you see the flag as a napkin, you're disrespecting the flag if you look at the proper protocol when it comes to the flag. You're disrespecting the flag. So when people say when you're kneeling, you're disrespecting the flag, I don't get that. And a lot of that was brought on by 45, who started saying what he had to say and really brought it over into the sports realm. Because when Colin first kneeled, it had nothing to do with the flag. He was kneeling at the Star Spangled Banner, which we could really go into depth about the Star Spangled Banner, because if you look at the original lyrics of the Star Spangled Banner, we as black people, and if you look at it, this is nothing I'm making up, Google it if you don't believe me. It talks in there about where the slaves went over to work for the British, right? And they went to fight with the British when they were freed. And it was talking about the slaves being killed along with the British in the Star Spangled Banner. But they don't let that part go. That part is not in there. You have to research that for yourself. So, when they start talking about that and they want to introduce, oh, you're disrespecting the flag, I can't get with that. Who wanted to say something? Corey, did you have something to say?
Well, I just think if you go.
Hold on, Corey. I'm so sorry. Try it again.
Okay. I just think if you go back to when Willie brought up about the Black Lives Matter, I think that whole narrative has just been taken out of context, because we've never said that any other lives hadn't mattered. It's always been Black Lives Matter. And I think the point that they have to truly look at is, even if you go all the way back to the Constitution, we were never created equally within the Constitution. So through all these years, we've been pleading, just give us the same justice that you have for everybody else, and I think we'd be okay. But then you get into talking about the American flag. It's like Pastor Brown said, it's just been more a cover-up of their racist ways than it has been anything else. And, the whole thing with Colin Kaepernick, it was just another thing that where they just used that as a way to, one, remove another black man from playing quarterback in the NFL, to continue to cover up their injustice that they perpetrated on a black American, even not just black American, even the Native Americans. They've just, over the years, used that flag as a way to cover up their injustice. And then you look at, kind of going back to the Black Lives Matter, I think until all lives matter, no lives really matter to a certain degree, because you can't have one without the other, because we've made just as many contributions to America as any other race of people.
Yeah. Apostle, you were involved in a march here in the city of Lancaster. I want you to tell the people what that was about and basically how it went down.
It was a protest, and actually it was organized by a young lady who was a sophomore, junior in high school. It was a peaceful protest. It was a collaborative protest where the police marched, they participated, city officials participated abroad. And the protest was in response to George Floyd, and it was a peaceful protest, which I think is what has been often, the water has been tried to be muddied and try to make this so destructive, because we had a few individuals who decided to try to take advantage of a peaceful protest and rob and steal and victimize people. But again, that's the voice of pain. That's the voice of somebody angry. That's the voice of somebody who's saying, I don't believe in this system, so I'm going to take it into my own hands. But we were fortunate to have a peaceful protest where we marched from the police station to the town square, and there we spoke on the subject matter and addressed, and there we had acknowledgments from the police department on that many of them concurred. This was an inappropriate behavior. This was not a real police act. And the cry of justice demanded that there be a response from every segment. You could not have a segment not speak on that subject matter when they saw this man with a knee on his neck, crying for his mama, take his last breath, and justify that. There was no way that that kind of behavior can be any longer. So as a result, we saw a large segment of the city come out. However, you had individuals who still will not embrace, because they feel like there's an alternative, there's an overreaction, and that's an unfortunate that you have people who believe that we are inferiority, that we caused this on ourselves. We should have done something different. When in actuality, I have seen. We were talking the other day that this was this white individual up on a police with a knife, and the police just backing up. No, stop, and you swinging at him to finally, he had no recourse after running from a man. And the wife and I said, if this had been somebody black, the moment he pulled that knife out, he'd been dead. He ran after the police, and to show you the bias here. But I'm thankful that we were able to stand against this and establish some precedents in an area that has a racial history. We might add that Lancaster has a racial history, and that we were able to stand together and try to dispel that myth and create a new beginning.
You know, speaking of new beginnings, one of my biggest questions is how do we get there? Because there's been so much hurt, there's been so much stuff from our past. How do we get over that and start working towards something new? Go ahead, Willie.
I think that really this is, and we've seen it with some of the upper echelon type of personalities, and I've said this in our show, in order for change to change, it is going to take our brothers and sisters, emphasis on our brothers and sisters that are a little bit lighter shade than us, to get in the foxhole with us. And I posted this on my outlook. Social media has had me up at night, and not because of people out there and their differing opinions and whatnot. What pains me and keeps me up at night is the fact that I'm so sick of us being divided. And I had even somebody that asked me if I was a racist. I'm like, dude, you don't even know me. And if you did, that would not be a question that you would be asking me, because I hate racism of any color. I don't care if it's from a white person or from a black person. I hate it of all races, because at the end of the day, it's not about the color of our skin. It's about the blood that we bleed, which is red, which is the really true color that only matters. But anyway, so what I was saying was, when you have a thing where people have felt in control. Now notice I said felt, not actually in control. But when people have made another race feel inferior for so long, they don't even realize what they're doing, number one. So that's what it's going to take also for people who think that they're in charge to understand that they're really not. And then and only then will we be able to work together. But then you have some people out there that don't want to work together, because I honestly believe this right here, y'all, and I'm telling you from the bottom of my heart, I honestly believe that a lot of people that are a little bit lighter shade than us are scared. I believe that they're really scared because they don't want to lose the power that they think they have. And when you have that fear, it will paralyze you. You know, fear grips you. It takes away stuff. So that's what it's going to take. And then when you have a president that is so divisive, I mean, so divisive, it's like the people who voted for him or follow him, they're like Trump disciples. I call them Trump ISILs. And the reason why I say that is because I'm just waiting for this dude to come out and say, yo, I'm the Messiah, and I'm over here chilling, and I'm waiting to see everybody that follow this dude like he's some sort of God to go right with them.
Apostle, we've got some questions, and as a matter of fact, I'm glad that we're doing this. We are live on Facebook right now. If you guys are out there and you're watching this on Facebook or whatever platform you're on, hit us up on the Facebook page, and we will try to get your comments on and your questions on. Apostle, there's a question for you. It says, as a pastor, how can leaders unite people who are also divided? Doesn't the Bible talk about the responsibility, or what does the Bible talk about the responsibility of a shepherd?
I think we have a responsibility really to, number one, we preach a gospel of love, we preach a gospel of hope, and sometimes there are actions that we have to take, whether protests, engaging, and Martin Luther King exemplified that. as to how we have to take action, but we have to hold people accountable. And the missing piece in this is, if I had a couple that was living an inappropriate lifestyle, I have the obligation to address them because their soul is my salvation. Their soul is at stake, and that's my job to make sure that they live a life that can get them to heaven. But by the same token, if I see brothers and sisters of another persuasion or anyone else that's not embracing moral truth or racial truth, I have the same obligation that says, look, you're my white brother, but what you embracing is not appropriate. And I think that's the missing piece here, that we don't see. We see people calling this sin but won't call that sin. And unfortunately, racism is in the church. There's not the same liberty that if they came to us, it's as though, but if I went to them, I'm a good musician, I can sing good, but I don't know if you'll be a good pastor for my people. It's always we're in an insubordinate stage when we're over there, because they recognize that we can sing. They recognize we, quote, have the Spirit, and we can ignite and energize their church. But there's this racial divide, and some of it has been done so long till they're blinded to it. It's like, that's just the place we're in, and I love black people. And it's unfortunate that you hear that. And I say that and have echoed from this pulpit that for this thing to do what it need to do, we're going to have our white brothers get involved, as he said, and they're going to have to get involved, and they don't need to come to our church and tell us they believe in us. They need to stand on their pulpit and tell their people that they believe in this black cause.
Come on.
And I think that's part of the discrepancy. I don't need you to come over here and tell me I love black people and I believe in that cause and we're standing for the cause of injustice. No, stand in your pulpit and say that to your people and tell your people you are sinning, just like you committed adultery, just like you lying, just like you robbed or committed murder. Racism is a sin just like the other. And that has to be a sound coming from all pulpits, black or white.
All right. Corey, real quick.